Sport Trap, George, Ringer, happy Halloween. It's the October 28th today as we record this, and I don't know why I've got dirt all over my hands, but I do. I guess that's what happens when you come from hockey practice or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Hockey practice is always fun.
Yeah, hockey practice in full swing. The high school girls start on Monday. The rec kids have been at it for pretty much a month.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're getting into the full swing of things. So
I was talking to my son about this, and my grandson, he's 11 years old, and they're having tryouts for this team. And I says, well, how's he doing? He says, well, the tryouts are closed. And I thought, okay, there's some coaches there I admire right off the bat. They're going to go.
We were just discussing that about having practice closed to the parents at the Pee Wee level and why and the wherefores. And it has to happen at some point.
Some point.
Yep. Yeah. This isn't Hoosiers. Come on.
No.
Anyway, let's move on. So what sport would you like to start with?
Hey, I'll tell you, I'm ready to go anywhere. I'm ready to go anywhere.
Let's start with baseball. I want to get it out of the way. Let's get it out of the way. It is World Series time. Of course, this week was 30 years ago since the Twins won.
I was there at the 6th game for the big home run.
You were, huh?
Yes.
I never knew that.
Yes.
How can we have known each other, George, for 25 years, and you didn't tell me that you
was
were
at the 6th game? And actually, it was my friend Bob that got us tickets, but we were about maybe 25 rows up behind the catcher, and we saw when he hit it, and it went right to center field. We knew the crowd stood up from the catcher on around. As you could see, the height was not going to be contained. It just kept on going. And of course, everybody went absolutely bazonkers.
Yeah, I was at a wedding, a family friend wedding that night down in New Prague at the VFW, I believe, or the American Legion, one of the two. They're in my mind sometimes the same, but we were down there, and obviously I was a huge Twins fan, but I didn't really. I just said, you know what, I'm going to have to forget about it. They were down 3-2, and I'm like, we're going there to celebrate and have a good time and see friends and family and that kind of thing.
30 years later, it's even bigger. It's like I went with my guru cousin down in Minneapolis, and and we'd been to some really big events, but that's right up there.
I was just discussing one of my biggest regrets of my life was when they won Game 7. I was sitting on the University of Minnesota campus in the football building by myself watching the game, and I had class Monday morning early, and I was debating, do I go downtown and celebrate or do I go to class? And I took the higher road. I stayed and went to class, and that's a regret. Because I should have went down and
I was
rebel.
with a group of fans that had Homer hankies. Remember the Homer hankies? The Homer hankies were trailing around. The place was packed, and it was this place. So that's where I watched the 7th game. So a good party.
So what about the Astros and the Braves? What are you seeing?
It's like one of the things. The best analyzation I've had of the situation is Atlanta has really good strikeout pitchers.
Yep. Yeah.
The problem of it is Houston doesn't strike out. and so you're going to get this thing. We all know how well. I mean, I don't know what Altuve's hitting for this series, but I mean, he seems to be just all over the place. And he's. I mean, the whole team is hitting well, and they sure hit well last night. So it was,
I'm just banging my garbage can lid, that's all.
No, I understand. I'm just saying is that, Atlanta's there and they have great pitching. I mean, they have great pitching. And it's just like I watch these guys, these 3-foot curveballs and sliders and stuff. You just say, how do you even anticipate trying to swing at something like that? And coming at 95 miles an hour.
I was listening to the ESPN feed last night, and I don't know who it was, the player on there that was the color guy, and he said, I learned from Tony Perez, you can't hit the slider anyway, So why try to hit? Why try to look for it?
Yeah.
Look fastball, and if the slider comes, you make your adjustment and do the best you can with it. I thought that was pretty good advice.
Well, it probably is, and I mean, you take a look at these are the best hitters in the world. These guys can really swat the ball, and sometimes in those sliders they're made a fool of. They miss it by a foot. And
so, my question is it possible that the World Series could end in a tie?
Well, I'll tell you, it's possible that the series could go 7 games.
I don't want to see either one of these teams win.
Well, I'm not that crazy about either, but if I had my druthers, they used to be in Milwaukee, I'll give them.
If you pinned me up against the whatever and said I had to pick somebody, I would be picking the Braves, and there's no way I could cheer for that other team. And my job forces me to say their name on the air, and I don't like to say it. I like to say something else, but. And I'm not even too crazy about saying the Braves, but...
I like it when you get like that, because then you say Patrick Russi's a curmudgeon.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing that we found out, as long as we're talking about nicknames and whatever else. The Cleveland Indians / Guardians were taken to court. Do you know that there's a roller derby team in Cleveland that is known as the Cleveland Guardians?
No.
And they are saying, you can't take our name from us. I don't care how big you are. We were here first, and you can't have the name.
We have copyright laws for that very reason. So
I'm very interested to see if the Cleveland Indians are going to become the Cleveland Guardians, or are they going to have to go through this rebranding process again, because I'm sure they've got hats, t-shirts, banners, pennants, posters, everything made up with this new logo, and now they might have to throw around in the drinks. So
I was channel flipping, and there was Euchre again with a bottle of Jack Daniels calling this game, and I thought, geez, Ringer and I have never had that much fun. Anyway.
No. Little Major League is always good. So
it is.
So are you predicting that it's going 7 games, or are you...
I'm predicting it very well could go 7 games.
It's going to go 7 games.
Yeah.
I agree. The teams are pretty close.
They are in the pitching. You can't cut short Atlanta on their pitching staff, because they can hit you, and they got closers. They got all kinds of people. Houston...
How did they pick up Soler and Rosario during... How did they have enough to... They made a run.
Well, I don't know, but
pieces fell into place for him.
I knew deep down, as soon as we got rid of Eddie Rosario, we'd hear about him again.
Well, here's the thing about Eddie Rosario. There have been some people who have been complaining that, look what he's doing now. If the Twins would have just kept him. Well, yeah, the Twins the Twins wanted to keep him, but here's the deal. He wanted too much of this.
Yeah, he did.
So these other teams, okay, we can afford to give Eddie this. The Twins were like, no, we can't. We got other guys that we can do this with. And so, Eddie, good job. Have fun playing in the World Series. We miss you, but it was a business decision. Welcome to baseball in the 21st century. If you haven't figured that out yet, you need to figure it out.
Well,
I'm talking to you people who got your heads buried in the sand, by the way. Okay? Wake up. This isn't 1974 anymore, where you get to keep Jim Marshall for 26 years and he plays with you forever. That's not the way it lives.
Well, that's when Johnny Bench was really good.
Anyway.
Okay, here we are.
So, we're done with baseball?
There was only 2 teams to talk about.
And Drelton Simmons is a finalist for the Gold Glove Award for a shortstop today. He may very well deserve it. But,
Nelson Cruz is getting accolades from all over the place because he's a terrific human being. And I mean, that is not satire or anything. He really is. And hey, I wish that guy a lot of luck. He was fun watching.
Let's move to hockey.
Okay.
Let's keep the football till the end.
Okay.
So the Wild 5-1.
Yes.
The only game that we've had on our radio station, they stunk up the place. They're on tonight. I know by the time everybody watches
9
this,
o'clock,
it'll be past tonight.
The Kraken tonight.
The Seattle Kraken.
This is going to be a pretty interesting game.
I'll have to read about it or listen to it in the morning because there is no way Tim will be awake at 9 o'clock.
Well, that's why you should get a dog to get you up early. But
I've got a 6-year-old. He keeps us up late anyway.
Hey, look, the Wild, although Kaprizov is not scoring and everybody's just busting a gut, I watched him skate the other day, and there's still nobody that can watch him. I mean, guard him one-on-one. He is just way too fast, and I know that they're trying to keep a pretty close contact on him, but they're not going to be able to do that forever.
Well, Everson said the other day that he's trying to do too much. He's trying to do too much one-on-one.
Yeah.
The team's got 5 guys. As soon as he touches the puck, they've got the other 5 guys. Okay, so he's got to relearn to play the game. You know, if you're going to be the stud, if you're going to do that kind of stuff, you got to learn to replay the game.
Well, and I mean, he's got to play this with a lot of good hockey players as well on that ice. I mean,
while they're going to be short a couple players tonight, Zuccarello and Pitlick are into the COVID protocol, so they are unavailable and could be for a couple of weeks if things don't work out right. But that also begs the question, if they've had it and they've been in close contact with everybody else, does that mean that the Wild are going to all of a sudden be 8, 10, 12 guys short?
You said that 2 years ago. The greatest determiner in sports pro and college was going to be that COVID. And you have been right.
We'll see. We'll see how it all balances out. But the Wild 5-1. They're playing the Kraken 2-4-1. The Kraken played their first home game ever on Tuesday night and did get a win. So you would figure that the team will be pretty jazzed up.
Thus the $600 seat tickets.
Yeah, $600 for a seat. I mean, I guess it's something to say. You know, Ryan Donato, scored the first goal for the Kraken. To say that you were at the first Kraken game probably has some significance. I don't know if I'm ready to pay $600 though to say that I was at.
I'll match my Kirby homer to that anyway. So
yeah, absolutely. So,
also one more thing, Florida Panthers.
I was just going to say the surprise of the NHL is the Florida Panthers.
They're 7-0 and they don't seem to want to lose.
Yeah, I don't know if I can explain that to people. I don't know if I want to even try. I don't know how much investigating I'd have to do. Maybe I'm more surprised that Montreal was 0-6 after going to the Stanley Cup.
And the Kraken beat them. That was their game.
What the heck is going on? Or as Vince Lombardi would say. Anyway, it's just one of those things. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Montreal's going to have to probably making a coaching change because they aren't going to stand for 0-6. So how long do they hang on and keep their job and whatever else? So.
It's in Montreal, not long. I would guess.
Yeah. Anything else hockey-wise?
That about covers it. But
how about the UNB Bulldogs sweeping the Gophers?
I was hoping that maybe you'd tell us about that. I listened to the game on Friday, and it seemed like they just totally dominated.
Yeah, I watched parts of it. I'll say the two teams obviously ranked 4th and 5th at the time by polls. They're very even teams. I think the Dogs got out early on them down at Mariucci on Friday, and then played well enough, scored 5 goals, which isn't the Bulldogs' game. So the fact that they scored 5 goals at Mariucci told me that they had things going on. Saturday night's game was a little tougher. It was very closely contested. The thing that surprised me about it, folks, is this. It was played relatively cleanly. I expected bitter rivals, night 2, a lot of chippiness. There was some, but there's that every night in the NCHC. So I was really surprised at it. Of course, the highlight of the night, most of the people who watch this show probably don't care, but we walked into Amsoil Arena and some lady says, "Do you think your son would like to be the guest public address announcer?" And I'm like, "Yes, he would.
Yeah.
Yes, he ain't gonna get a chance to say no." So Eli got to go down right as the puck got dropped and said, "Let's play Bulldog hockey," which was very cool. But maybe the cooler part was we got to shake hands with Ben Gordon, former Bronco, who's an assistant coach with the Gophers, and then he got to stand right where the Gopher players got to walk out, and everybody's coming up, and even though he had his Bulldog shirt on there, "Hey buddy, how you doing?" and fist bumping and hitting him with the stick and everything else. So he really got to see the size of these kids.
Yeah.
You put them on those skates and you put all that equipment on. Holy bejeebers, those boys are big.
They are.
They're not boys, they're men.
No.
And But having said that, the weekend was fun, obviously, because the Bulldogs got the sweep, but it was probably a better thing. Eli didn't even mention about did we get signed up to go on the Zamboni, because he got everything.
Yeah, he'd rather have the mic.
And
anyway.
then he got a puck.
Oh,
Bulldogs puck on with a logo on it. So it was a big night for him. It was big. I enjoyed it, and of course, every weekend that we get to go watch Bulldog hockey is a good weekend.
well, you know, and I'll tell you, the way these college teams are taking care of the kids, they bring them on the ice, they meet them afterwards, they have skate-arounds down at Bemidji, you know, and I know my grandsons have BSU pucks lined up, you know, thick as thieves, but no, it was fun to see. It was now there was some other stuff going on in Duluth that wasn't that much fun to see.
Well, you want to move to the football thing? Let me finish hockey. Let me finish hockey. So BSU goes to Northern Michigan and gets a sweep.
BSU is a good hockey team
in the CCHA, and so their first league games in the CCHA. So congratulations to the Beavers on that.
Yeah.
After having played UMD in North Dakota, they're hanging in there. I thought they did very well for themselves. So good job there.
My source in Bemidji said they were real pleased with their home and home with North Dakota, and there's actually a kid indirectly, Jim Glowac's grandson that plays for North Dakota, Montgomery, and so Robert got a chance to see him, and Bemidji's got a good team, and when that UMD thing, you're going to have, just like last time, you're going to have Bemidji, UMD, St. Cloud, and
Mankato, Minnesota. They're all going to be there.
They're all going to be there.
St. Thomas played Ferris State. We don't expect them to be in the NCAA tournament, but hey, I'm looking over at the weather. You see that flake thing coming down on Monday?
Yeah,
maybe a little snow on Monday. Hey. It's November on Monday.
You're just trying to cheer me up.
What I'm trying to say, George, is this. It's not out of the realm of possibilities that we should have had snow in September at some point up here. We didn't get any snow in September.
I noticed when we called the game on Tuesday that the field was really kind of warm. I had my jacket off. There was no 6 inches of snow and blowing. It was actually a pretty nice night for football.
Yeah, we'll get to that football business in a while. We'll get to that Bulldog football in a minute too. Mankato was off. North Dakota got a split with Quinnipiac. So some good stuff in college hockey. You want to talk about the Wolves, or you want to move to football?
Oh no, we can talk about the Wolves.
Let's talk the Wolves. Why not?
Listen, do you remember when Chicago with Jordan, and they got Pepin, and then
they brought in
Denny Rodman, and they had you got to have three guys to be successful in the NBA.
Do the Wolves have three guys?
They did last night. They had Russell, and they had Edwards, and they had Towns, and they got who was it? Towns and Edwards each got 25 points, and Russell got 29. You get that kind of scoring consistently from three guys, you're going to be hard to beat.
The only problem that I have with that, and I understand you got to have the big three, and I get that, but what happens when one of those guys has an off night? And who's going to step up?
Well, and I'll tell you, they actually have a pretty good leader at point guard, and he moved around pretty good. So it's hard to say. I don't know what his shooting capabilities are. He doesn't have to.
No, I agree. I do agree with you, George, completely. Yeah. But there's that danger, because ask the Los Angeles Lakers about going and losing to 0-4 Oklahoma City last night. Well, it just pleases me as punch to see him at 2-3. Oh, we got the big three, blah, blah, blah. Now you're 2-3. And anyway, I just...
No, but the Wolves, they play Denver next?
Yeah, that sounds right.
And, and it's kind of like... you're going to probably start seeing some just whether or not they can do this.
Yeah, obviously they're playing 7 of their first 8 games at home. They went into Milwaukee last night. We probably should say beat the reigning champions, the defending champions.
Well, and it's not just that. The Bucks had not been behind like in 100 games in that gym. Ever once.
And the Wolves led wire to wire, never trailed in the game,
and played pretty good. Guess what they did?
They played defense.
Yes.
Gave up 108, but played good defense. I'm okay with that. I understand. That's the calling card of this team. That's what they're trying to build. They brought Patrick Beverly in to be part of that and
actually
the culture.
Beverly had a great game too.
Yeah. So Giannis Antetokounmpo goes for 40 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists.
He's going to do that.
But you're right. He's going to do that. Chris Middleton didn't have a big night. I was listening to the end of the game on XM last night after I got done with the volleyball game, which remember we have to talk about. And I'm listening to the Milwaukee announcers, and it's like 4 seconds left, and it's over. The Wolves are going to win. There's no doubt about it, the Wolves are going to win. And the announcer basically said, "Look, if you'd have told me before the game that we were going to shoot more threes than twos, and then we were going to shoot under 35% for the game, I said, well, we don't have to play. We're going to lose the ball game.
You're going to lose the ball game.
So, what does that tell you about the defense? That Milwaukee shot more threes than twos. Well, that tells me that they probably packed it in and that they're playing some pretty good defense. So, good sign.
Yeah, it is. They were going to the hoop. They were getting really good boards. It was fun to watch.
I know Uncle Paul was a little upset that they lost to the Pelicans on Monday in this back-to-back games. He's ready to sell Karl Anthony Towns right out. Get rid of him. Right now, he's not a leader. He can't win with him. And I'm like, whoa, Paul. Easy. Let's not throw it out because we lost to the Pelicans. Here's what happens. You beat them pretty convincingly on Saturday night. You play them 2 nights later. What happens? We'll just show up. We beat them the other night. And then you can't flip the switch because you don't come prepared. And that, to me, is exactly what happened. That's what the coaches said. And then Karl Anthony Towns this is not new, but Chris Finch basically said he needs to grow up. He has got to quit complaining. I want to use a better word than that, folks.
No,
I can't.
They do it. And in fact, that's what's going to hurt this team most.
He cannot take a bad call and just let it go, let it roll off your back. He's got to whine and complain about it until he gets a technical. And then what happens for the rest of the game? The Wolves don't get a call the rest of the game, and they lose the game. Well, okay. So Finch basically said in the postgame, he's got to grow up. He's got to let it roll off his back because those are going to happen in a game. Bad calls happen.
The game is so fast. They are up there so high, and they're so big. I can see a foul. I can pick out a foul every drive to the basket. So can you. On the other hand, if you did that, it would be a game of free throws, and there'd be tooting the whistle all the time. I've heard other people said every time they get a tie, they should jump ball. Oh, God. Can you imagine what that would do to the length of the game of basketball?
For high school, it wouldn't be good. They still do it in the NBA. They still do. And they got referees that can't throw the ball straight up in the air. It's like, they should figure it out someday.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else with basketball you want to talk about? Because, it is going to be November by the time we get started. And I think the Gopher basketball team has a real game on November 8th.
Yeah, they've been...
So you better get the guru on the phone and say, hey, what are you hearing about the Gophers? Because I still can't get that 14th out of 14 teams in the Big Ten out of my mind.
No, I'm afraid that's probably why I haven't heard from my guru. He has a tendency to agree.
But think about that. That's where we're at. I mean, college basketball in 2 weeks is going to be on TV every night until the end of March.
Yeah, it's going to be a long winter. But, what do you say? You have to give a guy at least 4 years and probably 5 to build a program. You got to give him one recruit class, and the recruit classes after that. So we'll see just what the guy is as far as a recruiter and how he is with X's and O's. One of my favorite Gopher coaches was Jim Dutcher, and the reason I like Dutcher. And I listened to him when he was an announcer. He could see everything on that court, and he knew what was going on. And he probably wasn't the greatest coach that the Gophers had, but boy, I sure did like listening to his lectures and watching him work the board. He was fantastic. And you got to have a bit of that.
Absolutely. Anything else basketball-wise?
Let's see here. I don't think so.
All right. Our Loons. The Loons pulled a bad one last night.
They did.
They gave up an own goal, which is a bad. Don't do that. End up losing to Vancouver 2-1. Vancouver moves ahead of them in the standings. They were a point behind. So now Vancouver's got 47, the Loons got 45, and they're in 8th place with 2 games left. And the announcers for the Loons on FSN, Valley Sports, were boohooing that they might not get a home playoff game. They might not make the playoffs.
They might not make the playoffs.
And that's, I think they've got a team that can get there, that can compete, but they just haven't been consistent enough.
Well, last year they, at the end, as I recall, they had a nice lift and they played real well and pulled themselves up. They weren't actually favored to do that either.
And they've got a tough schedule. They got Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah.
The only saving grace with Sporting Kansas City is they might rest some of their best players because they're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think they've got number 2 wrapped up. And then they play the LA Galaxy the last game, and the Galaxy is in. I believe it's the Galaxy. It might be LAFC. Anyway, they're in the hunt for a playoff spot, so they're not going to get any easy match there. So anyway, there's your little MLS update there.
Yeah.
And I've been pulling for the Loons all year. I've watched probably more soccer, MLS soccer this year than I have in the last 3-4 years combined. And I just think at some point the Loons are going to move to the top of the heap and be one of the leaders in the MLS. That's just how I feel about it. The eternal optimist that I am.
Yeah. Well, aren't they going to get? They're going to get the the All-Star game.
The All-Star game next year.
Well, you'll probably find a spot in there somewhere.
Not for probably $600 at least.
Oh, really?
I'm going to guess. That place only holds about 20,000. Those tickets are going to be
charges the radio station.
We'll get Jim to pay for that. He'll buy in for that.
Buy into that.
So, are we going to move to football?
Do you want to talk about some volleyball? Or we do that at the end?
We can do volleyball.
Well, the reason I bring it up because last night I watched the Gophers kind of wipe out Indiana and Stephanie Samedi, she got her 1,800 kill. That's a lot of kills. And so they stopped and they slowed it down, and she is one fine athlete. and then setter Melanie Staffmaster, she had 36 assists and 10 digs. She's from Indiana, and her parents were very much involved with IU, and she moved to Minneapolis and became a star.
She declared as an 8th grader that she was going to be a Gopher.
She's really amazing athlete too.
That's not too bad when you got a setter that's 6'2".
Yeah.
So.
And she's a good sized woman. I mean, she's powerful and get up in the air. She does the whole thing. Yes, especially.
Yeah, the Gophers. Tough loss on Friday versus Penn State. Penn State was ranked 14th. The Gophers, I don't know.
They weren't really there.
Then they came back and beat number 6 Ohio State on Sunday. And now they get number 6 Nebraska on Saturday night.
This should be a good one.
So you're going to watch it on your phone while you're coming back from Willow River?
No, my wife will watch it, and she generally records it in case.
Just in case something fun happens.
Just in case something happens.
Yeah, Gopher volleyball's doing well. UMD volleyball. They're actually on TV tonight. If you had cable TV, if you had Midco, Uncle Paul says, "Well, you're probably going to have to watch them," and I'm like, "Yeah, it probably ain't going to happen because there's not enough hours left in these days." Somebody asked me the other day, "How's everything going?" I said, "Can you sell me an hour a day for the next week?" I said,
you're into sales. Try to buy one.
I could really use 60 extra minutes a day. I'd probably use all 60 of them to sleep. But that's where we're at. So,
this media mogul thing is not as easy as I thought.
Yeah. How about curling?
Hey, there's big stuff going on.
Mixed doubles curling going on in Evelyn. Just over a month ago, this
is the national tournament now.
This is the Olympic trials.
Okay.
The Olympic trials were set to be in Irvine, California. Apparently that wasn't going to work, so Evelyn stepped up, and we've got the curling going on. So I drove by last night after the volleyball game, and everybody was just pulling out. And I drove by today, and I wanted to stop in the worst way, but I didn't. It was tough. The sports guy in me really wanted to pull over to the left and go watch a little curling.
So that's going on now through the weekend?
Through the weekend. The round robin going on, I think, through early Friday, and then they'll have the the playoffs,
Yeah.
and the championship is on Sunday. The championship on Sunday is on NBC Sports Network, I believe live, if I read everything correctly. The Olympic Channel, if you get the Olympic Channel, is having, I think, the semis on Friday and Saturday, however it all works. Go check your local listings,
You know,
folks.
generally we have a premier team from Bemidji or Superior or, somewhere along. Do we have that kind of a...
Christopher Plies, Plies, who is originally from Duluth, I believe.
Yeah.
He's teamed up with a woman, and Vicky Persinger, I think is the name. Don't quote me on that. But they're labeled from out of Alaska, because I think that's where Chris moved to. And of course, John Schuster is in there.
Okay.
And Matt Hamilton, who was on his gold medal winning team, he's curling with his sister. As a matter of fact, all 4 of the members from Schuster's team in 2018 are playing in this mixed doubles. So, of course, the Olympics just 3 months away here, get 3.5 months away. So
it is.
I'm sure we'll mention once or twice on this show coming up over the next couple of months. So it's too bad that it's that close, and I'm not probably going to get down unless you want to stop on the way down Saturday morning on our trip to Willow River. No, we can't.
I don't know how you're going to quite fit that in your schedule, but
like I said, we need hours, not hours. Anyway, are we ready to talk about football?
we can talk about some football.
Where are we starting? Are we talking college or football or pros? Excuse me.
Let's just go a little bit. I mean, the college game last weekend was really something. Wake Forest scored and scored again in this real defensive epic struggle, 70-56.
70-56 over your Army.
At least 8 touchdowns went for at least 39 yards with runs of 75, 83, 71, and 75 yards in the third quarter. I watched 4 successive plays that were all huge runs, 2 apiece from each side. They were throwing up scores so fast the guy on the scoreboard got a little tired. It really was amazing, and I had never. Two things impressed me. Number one, I didn't know Wake Forest could score that many points that quick. They're a pretty good offensive team. In fact, they're a very good offensive team. Defensively, they're still undefeated. Yeah. And the thing of it is that Army was a touchdown or two, just a touchdown or two, the entire game until the end, but I mean, they were just scoring right and left. Wait for it.
Have you heard the story of Cinderella?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you hear the slipper comes off?
Yeah. It did.
Anyway, I don't know what I'm trying to say, folks. But anyway.
No, my good friend Jacoby Buchanan couldn't carry it. They went through a couple of quarterbacks, and I hope they'll be all right. But
giving up 70 points can scar a team.
It can. Of course, when you score 56 behind them,
and you lose, you got to wonder.
We always used to say, offense, if you can give me 21 points, we can win this game. Well, that went right out the window on this deal.
Right out the door.
Yeah.
Wow. So
yeah.
How about
Minnesota?
No, I don't want to go to Minnesota
okay.
yet. I want to talk about Iowa State.
Oklahoma State.
Now, what my question is, if you listen to Coach's Corner, now you watched it, you might recall I said there were no top 25 teams playing against each other last week, which made it a very surprising week in October. But there was 3 intriguing games, and one of them was number 8 Oklahoma State at Iowa State. Now, here's the strange part of it, folks. Iowa State, who was not ranked against number 8 Oklahoma State.
People were looking at them at the beginning of the year, though.
Yeah, they've got a very fine program.
Yeah.
Do you realize that Iowa State was favored by more than a touchdown against the number 8 team in the nation, supposedly?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of people out there who thought that Iowa State was going to win that football game, and they did.
Did you think that? I mean, Oklahoma State, they beat Texas a little bit ago, and do you think that might have taken some snaps out of them? It's difficult.
It could have. My niece will think I'm whatevering here. Iowa State is a tough place to play right now.
It is right now.
It's a tough place to play in Ames, Iowa right now. So never bet against the Cyclones, the Tornadoes, as my brother likes to call them. Don't bet against them in Ames, Iowa. They're pretty tough there. So yeah, I don't understand that. But anyway, that game was intriguing to me. And of course,
that was a big game.
Gophers, you mentioned.
Well, I mean, the Gophers came in kind of semi-favored. You should be able to do this, but they had no running backs. And supposedly, well, they found a couple. They were probably hanging out at the coffee shop or something. But these kids are good, and they're fast and they're quick.
Is it wrong for a Gopher running back to have the nickname Bucky?
Well, it is, but so that's why they changed the name from Bucky to Buckle.
Buckle.
Because PJ just couldn't have a guy on his team named Bucky.
Yeah, Bucky Irving and Kai. Oh my gosh, it just left me. Kai Thomas. Thank you.
Yeah.
All I could think of was Martin. I don't know why, but it was stuck in there. Anyway, they were a part of 326 yards rushing by the Gopher offense in the 34-16 beatdown of Maryland. And this week they get Northwestern, who PJ Fleck is not letting his team forget is the defending Big Ten West Division champion.
Well, no, and you're going into Evansville, and Evanston. You're going to Evanston, and Northwestern can get pumped up. They're kind of used to having good pro football there these days. So
I don't get to read the paper as often as I'd like to, but I was watching Eli at practice today, and then you're going to say, well, how were you watching if you were reading the newspaper on your phone, which I was doing. Anyway.
Got two eyes.
I learned something. Did you know that Northwestern's starting tailback is from Maple Grove, Minnesota?
Well, yeah, I did.
Did you know this?
Yeah, they had said that earlier this year.
Did you know he's a little ticked off that the Gophers didn't recruit him?
That was the issue that came up. Yes.
He ran the only touchdown that Northwestern scored last week against Michigan was a 75-yard touchdown run by this kid from Maple Grove.
And he's a scooter.
So that is gonna make things curious on Saturday afternoon about 2:30. While George and I are doing the football game on the radio, we'll see what's going on, and we'll probably get to listen to the end of that game on the way home.
On the way home.
Yeah, we'll find it and see what happens there. But a month ago, everybody was ready to throw the Gophers into the proverbial fire.
I was pretty upset with them. Bowling Green just didn't cause it.
Losing to Bowling Green's a tough one. But I think the Gophers could have gone two ways from there. They could have buried their heads and said, "Oh, poor us, we're whatever," and they could have said, "Well," and they could have they could have went 4-7 or 4-8 or 4 whatever. They've decided to take the high road. I think they're playing better football. Not that the teams that they've been playing over the last few weeks or whatever, but remember, Purdue was ranked in the top 25 and the Gophers beat them. Maryland is no slouch. Northwestern's not going to be a slouch, and so hey, hang in there. The Gophers are they're going to be bowl eligible after this game.
We were talking about this earlier. Is that a trap game? Is this a trap game? This could potentially be a trap game.
I don't think the Gophers have their head stuck up their butt going into this game.
I hope not.
I don't think so.
I hope you're right.
I don't think they're looking ahead. They could be, because November is a little more interesting than October was. But having said that, what else?
Illinois upsets Penn State 20-18. First,
I hate with a white hot passion of 1,000 suns. I hate the new overtime rule. I'm just saying.
This is the first 9 overtime game.
They are not overtimes.
Well, no.
They are plays.
Yeah.
So let's call them 2 overtimes and 7 plays. Yeah, I understand. I understand why they're doing it. They're worried about if you play 8 overtimes where you start at the 25-yard line, you essentially are playing a 5th and maybe into a 6th quarter of football.
You want to express an opinion how the score turned out?
Well, in basketball, are they going to start just going out and playing 21 or something if you go to the 3rd overtime in a basketball game? I think it's malarkey.
Illinois upsets Penn State 20-18. That has a certain level of satisfaction. Wisconsin goes and hammers Purdue 30-13. MDSU beat Missouri State. They got another quarterback over there, this Cam Miller. He went 7 for 9, 114 and 2 touchdowns. Of course, they got some pretty good running backs. North Dakota beat Western Illinois. Western Illinois last year, didn't they beat one of the two of those?
I think they were ranked like 15 in the nation or something.
Yeah, and they got North Dakota got a quarterback, Tommy Schuster, 21 for 32 and 274. So the North Dakota teams are coming up real good. There are some games tonight. South Florida and East Carolina, and Troy against Coastal Carolina.
The Chanticleers?
The Chanticleers. I will be watching the Shanties tonight. And this weekend, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the Michigan State game.
Oh, that's the
big game of the weekend.
There's no doubt about that.
And hopefully they'll beat each other up to a 0-0 draw. But that might not happen.
We got to go run 9 plays from the 3-yard line to see who can win a football game. That's a lot of people don't like in high school football. You start at the 10-yard line and you run 4 plays. I get where whatever. I don't like at all running at 1 play, and then they switch ends.
I'm not sure what that's about.
Well, okay, so you run the 3rd overtime on this end of the field, so you run 2 plays down here. Then you take a big long break so the TVs stations can make some money, and then you move down to the other end and you run 2 plays down there, and then you go. I understand that there's 65,000 people there watching the football game. Don't yell at your screens. I get it, but oh my God, can we waste more time?
Before we leave college football, Jack Gibbons, senior defensive tackle.
Who's Jack Gibbons?
He's playing for the Gophers.
He's a tackle that plays for the Gophers.
He had 10 tackles, and they held the Terrapins 76 yards, which, as a defensive line, that's a pretty good performance.
Last time they did that was against Colorado. We know what happened the next week.
Oh, you are getting touchy.
Okay, you wanted to talk about your Bulldogs and losing to the Beavers for the first time at Griggs Field since the World War II was going on.
1941. It was probably the fall. It would have been maybe October before Pearl Harbor. So it was before
World War II was going on.
That's 80 years. So you're a counter.
That's 80 years.
That's 80 years, and this is BSU's first win since 1999. And I'll tell you, UMD lost that game because they made some mistakes because they were trying to do stuff with Mr. Jack Larson, and it caused a fumble in the red zone, and that cost them a touchdown. There were some other mistakes that they thought that they could go in there and just beat up Bemidji, and Bemidji's got a very good quarterback. He's got a pistol, and it's just straight shots. On top of that, he's got a couple of guys that can catch it. And so they scored at the end, and I watched them play. And if I would have been a Bemidji State fan, I'd have been in ecstasy. I really would. And I watched my Bulldogs go down, and I thought, Coach Mo is doing one of these jobs right now. But, I knew that Bemidji had a good football team, and they could possibly lose.
Here's the weird thing, and I discussed this with Uncle Paul this week. The Bulldogs last week were ranked 16th in the nation. Yeah. Okay? So they lose to Bemidji State, so that should drop them to what, 20? Something. 20, somewhere in the low 20s, 22, 23. Okay? So the Central Regional rankings came out this week. The Bulldogs are ranked 10th. 10. Now there's 4 regions in the United States. There's 4 of them. And the Bulldogs are like 23rd in the nation.
And they've lost 2 football games.
But they're 10th in the region.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Some things just don't add up.
The team that won the game on Saturday deserved to win. And there was no fluke. You couldn't blame it on anything other than poor performance by the Bulldogs. And
fair enough.
And then I did track down one other item.
One only.
One other item. I found Vinny Repish, the greatest color man that UMD ever had, and the boys tell me that he was at the UMD golf tournament, and I says he's not calling any games anymore, and he says no, But I got one friend that knows him real well. He says, I'll call and find out what's going on with Vinny.
Sure.
So Vinny's alive and well. I was worried about him.
Well, yeah, you just never know. You
never know.
You know what they at Dandy Don used to say on Monday Night Football, all good things must come to an end,
Yeah.
Turn out the lights, the party's over. So now we've got pro football, I think is the next thing.
Yes. I'll tell you, the Vikings right now, their offensive line seems to be, well, we hope that it's improving. If they do a good job and give Cousins any kind of time, he can pick people apart.
Yeah, you go back to the line against the first game against Cincinnati. That's in the past.
That's all gone. That's
gone.
not even the same line.
Are you going to get penalties? Every offensive line gets penalties. It's the nature of the beast. It's going to happen. But the Vikes are 3-3. They get the Dallas Cowgirls on Sunday Night Football on Halloween, and
everybody thinks
they're the highest scoring team in the NFL. I found out today. The Dallas Cowboys are the highest scoring team, and of course, when you play in the NFC East, when you got the Giants to beat up on a couple of times a year,
and the Eagles, and it's a tough go.
I have to give the Cowboys. I'm still mad about Drew Pearson pushing up in the 1975 championship game. You filthy animal.
Yeah, that was horrible. I wish he never would have done that. I'm looking for some things here, but the Cowboys think they're going to beat them, and I think this is one of the things where the Vikings could sneak one through. They've got as good a running back. They've got a good quarterback. Yeah.
I think if this game's played in Dallas, the Vikings don't stand a chance. The only chance that they have is because they're playing at home. Going to be a big difference there. I'm concerned about the Vikings defense. I understand that they haven't given up a trillion points, but do you realize that they're first in the league in sacks?
Yeah, they're all over the place.
They're first in the league on third down, which kind of surprises me because it seems like every team has like 3rd and 2 against them.
Well, the biggest hazard that defense had was we didn't have those great big tall linebackers, and you got great edge rushers, and you got a couple of interior linemen that grit it out. So,
and I don't like Zeke. He makes me even hate the Cowboys even more, despise the Cowboys even more. So Zeke Elliott, I hope that we shut him down like we did the last time.
Yeah,
if you recall, and I think it's going to be a heck of a ball game, and we'll see how things go on Sunday.
We should be home by then.
Arizona and the Packers tonight as we record this.
I don't think Green Bay's packing enough gear to take on Arizona right now. Arizona's an awfully good football
team. Without Devontae Adams,
yes.
Things are going to be a little difficult for the Packers.
Devontae Adams really makes a heck of a difference on that football team, though. He is.
That being said, if the Packers would somehow get in behind Aaron Rodgers' magic that he sometimes pulls out of his backside, and they became 7-1, and Arizona was 7-1, now all of a sudden this game could have lots of bearing on who has home field advantage in the NFC playoffs.
And we're not even halfway to the season.
And we're not even. I'm just throwing it out there.
No, I hear you.
I'm not trying to put too much into this game, but I think Arizona wins. I think Arizona wins comfortably tonight. But having said that, I understand that Aaron Rodgers is the other, and your friend Mike said that he needs to get a haircut. And I concur. He needs to get a haircut.
Well, but
I can't stand it.
I watched a game the other day between the Tennessee Titans and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Kansas City, they're pretty good. They're like the defending champions, and they call it now the Music City Massacre. my good. I mean, and what I said was, what's a Bo Derek? A quarterback goes 10 for 10. Ryan Tannehill did not have to have a 10 for 10. He has a different Derek. He's got Derrick Henry. And he threw a touchdown pass.
Yep.
Caught, I think, at least 2 passes, maybe more. And, when he gets a little bit a yard ahead of you or even alongside of you, Oh, he's tough to bring down, and he really played a good.
So I think I said this,
game.
I don't know if I said this on the radio or if I said this on this show, but the Buffalo Bills put the entire NFL on alert when they went into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And what has Tennessee done now that they beat Buffalo and Kansas City on back-to-back weeks?
No, they've impressed me, and and they have that just tremendous ground game. They're just a hard team to beat. They got a great offensive line, and Derrick Henry carries his own line. So,
and I understand that Patrick Mahomes left the game in the third quarter, but Kansas City only scored three points.
Yes.
In the NFL, that's almost unheard of.
Well, it really is, and they were never outside of the one field goal. They weren't even close in that game. They just got trampled.
Did you watch the Monday night game between Seattle and New Orleans? Did you watch any of it?
Yeah, I caught some bits and pieces. Yeah.
Did you fall asleep? Because
no,
the final
I
was 13-10, but
no, that's again. Those kind of games don't bother me because it's generally pretty good defense being played.
I understand.
But where's Seattle going to be without Wilson? And that's,
they might pick to go to the Super Bowl, and they might not make the playoffs.
They might not make the playoffs.
But who knew that Russell Wilson was going to get hurt and miss a month?
Oh, you don't know that, no.
What else pro football wise? What do you got anything for the upcoming week? Because other than that the Packers play Arizona and the Vikings play Dallas, I can't really say that I looked at the schedule too closely.
I haven't spent a whole lot of time with it myself, but
I'd like to be more reactionary now, more than looking ahead.
Well, it's just that there's games on Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, and as soon as the high school's done, they'll start coming down on Saturdays. There are so many games out there. Now you know why I have 3 screens. You have to have that many.
You got to have that.
Yeah.
Are we ready to talk a little high school?
Let's do
news?
that. Yes.
So, shall we stick with football?
Let's talk about football.
So the Bronco football team gets a 28-14 win on over CI on Tuesday night. Their first playoff win since 2012. That's pretty significant in its own right.
I had a friend of mine that watched the game out in Portland, a guy I played football with at UMD, and he said, and he was talking about the technical stuff, and then he paused and he said, "Who's that big quarterback?" Because the big quarterback was actually, he ran the ball very well, he threw the ball very well. Defensively, he was all over the place, an interception, a fumble, and that was Benny Glowak, and I told him about Ben, and he says he's a Bronco kind of like I expected him to be, and I said, yeah, he's a pretty good athlete. He wasn't the only one that had a good game. He just had everything he touched kind of turned to gold for him.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole lot tougher on Saturday when the Broncos take on the #1 seed, undefeated, all-world, maybe the best team in northeastern Minnesota.
Well, they're ranked #4 in the state.
Yeah, and they're there for a reason. The Moose Lake Willow River Rebels. The Broncos are going to have their hands full. They lost 55-0. I'm not saying that not anything can happen, but the Broncos would have to play a way different game than they did in week 2.
I will be surprised if they lose 55-0, though. They're not so apt to give up the big plays. They haven't given up a whole lot of big plays lately, and offensively, they have a running game. And I never thought that they would be able to piece together that good of a running game without Gavin Lovelace. But for whatever reason, they fill those gaps. And I mean, you take your quarterback and line him up in defensive tackle, and he did well.
Yeah, Cody Joslin has done well. He played some linebacker last year. He played free safety earlier in the year. Now he's a defensive tackle and had a heck of a ball game. Quick speed kills, isn't that what they say? He's very quick. And it's interesting. And so, with the playoffs coming up, Hinckley Finlayson against Mesabi East, that's the other semifinal on Saturday. And of course, all the semifinals going on around the area. And it'll be a fun Saturday to find out where all these teams are at, because who are the pretenders and who are the contenders, type of thing. Is Northwoods as good as we think they are? Where's that with Deer River in Class A? 9-man football, does anybody have a chance to beat MIB in Section 7 9-man? Section 7 3A, Esco's 8-0. Can anybody touch them? I think Aiken still is one of those teams that can beat Esco and go to state. And then in 4A, you just don't know. That those teams are so talented. They've got so much talent to see what happens. So I'm excited to see semifinal Saturday, even though we're going to be in the middle of it with a game of our own. We'll be getting updates along the way, and hopefully we'll get to enjoy some of the action.
I got some sources down in the cities that talk about the big schools. 6A has 4 number 1 seeds. They got Lakeville South, Eden Prairie, Maple Grove, and Stillwater. Those are 4 solid teams that somebody has to go through.
I would be shocked if three of the 4 of those teams that you just listed aren't in the state semifinals.
Somewhere along the line they are.
I think those are the 4 teams that are the 4 teams to beat. Now somebody could come through and upset one of those, but I would be surprised if, I don't know which one out of there, but 3 of the 4 I think make it to the big school semifinals.
Well, in 5A, Chaska and Mankato West are both undefeated, but 5 of 6 teams are 6-2. And so, when you're losing 2 games, you're losing them to pretty good teams, and chances are you're pretty good too.
Yeah, there's some good stories out there. Maybe the biggest story this week was the King is dead, and that is Caledonia, who has won 5 straight state championships, lost in the section quarterfinals. How scary is that?
No, they've been dominant for so long you couldn't believe that they lost. It was stunning.
Yeah, I know they had a down year. I know Eli King, and that's why I make the reference with the King is dead. Didn't play football for them this year as he's trying to do his thing with basketball. So, good stuff coming up.
Good stuff. I got one more thing. This is a local story. This is Kathy Stish Brokaw, and it seems that Tom Brady is her cousin, and her grandfather and Brady's great grandmother were brother and sister from Browenville, Minnesota, and that's where Tom Brady his parents got his start. So Puka, way to go, kid.
So George knows Tom Brady. We're going to get tickets to the Super Bowl now because.
You think he'll be there?
I think they got a pretty good chance to be there.
I think that All-American Hall of Famer Tannehill is going to take his team. That Tennessee Titans.
That's on the other side of the ledger.
Yeah.
There's got to be 2 teams there, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Bronco volleyball team who lost last night to Virginia.
Jeez, back and forth. That was a ripper.
These 2 teams, Virginia and International Falls, played each other twice this year. Iron Range Conference battle. Whatever. First time they played, it went 4 sets. 3 of the 4 sets went to extra volleyball, which is what I call it, when somebody has to win going past 25. Last night, 4 more sets. Again, 3 more of those sets go to bonus volleyball, extra volleyball. The Broncos had, the first set wasn't theirs, but they turned around, they dug in, they won the second set 30-28. They were up 24-22 in the third set, and I thought they're gonna get up 2 sets to 1, and we'll see what happens. Virginia comes back and scores the next 4 points, and then it gets better, folks. You go to set 4, and the Broncos held off 4 set points before they gave up the 5th one, and they lose in 4 sets, 30-28 in set 4. So 2 of the 4 sets went 30-28.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah,
stuff.
you were getting pretty excited. Closer cut. You called a great game.
Yeah, it was disappointing. The Broncos would have had their handfuls, and the Blue Devils do have their hands full as they take on number 1 Greenway in the section. I don't give either one of the 2 teams much of a chance against Greenway if everybody shows up. They're that good.
Yeah.
That's
the problem these days. You don't know who's going to show up or why.
I was at the section cross-country meet today down in Cloquet, and the Bronco girls, I think, took 10th. I know they took 10th. The Bronco boys, I think, ended up 11th or 12th. They had 2 kids, the boys, had 2 boys, Max Huso and Wyatt Jansen, who had never run in a varsity meet before. And they ran at the section meet today so that the Broncos could have 7 boy runners. That's a wow. That's a wow in my book.
Well,
you're a 7th grader, and the first varsity race you ever run is the section meet.
It'll be a race that neither one of those guys will ever forget.
They'll never forget.
Yeah.
Anthony Scholler led the way for the Broncos. He took 19th for the boys. He was only 3 spots out of going to state. So I would say 15 to 20 seconds is what he needed to change. He did run a PR, so he did everything I think he could. Abby Hutchinson, she was 3 spots out of going to state as well. For the girls, she ended up in 12th. And, you know, it is what it is. The Broncos don't have anybody qualified for state. That was disappointing. I thought Abby would get there. I thought Anthony had an outside shot.
Chance, yeah.
But it was a pretty nice day for running, no rain. And everything else. So congratulations to the kids.
Hey, they bust their butt doing that sport. It's an incredible sport. It really is.
So North Central football loses to Cherry 46-6 on Tuesday. The LBF girls lost on Monday to MIB, and the Indus girls lost to Goodrich Grigla. I got to say Grigla again.
Grigla.
Hey, woohoo! Do you know what else is going on? Tomorrow, and I wish I could fit this into my schedule. I can't. The Fort Francis Muskie football team plays in the playoffs tomorrow.
Over here?
At home. But there's just too many interviews to get done tomorrow, and it's just not going to get done. Which I'm disappointed that I'm not going to get over there to watch, because I would love to go over there and to watch. And the other thing, before we leave football, my Winnipeg Blue Bombers, with 4 weeks left in the regular season, have clinched the West Division title.
They're going to play in the Grey Cup.
They're 10-1, and they're already into the Western Conference Championship game. And it would be disappointing if they weren't playing for the Grey Cup and going to win it for the 2nd consecutive time. Go Bombers! That's all. That's what I'm
just like my old coach Butch used to say. He coached them.
He coached them. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. If you didn't know that, Frank Butch Larson, who coached for the Broncos for 22 seasons, was the head coach for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers right before he was the head coach for the International Falls Broncos.
Yep.
If you didn't know that, there's your history lesson. George, we've been on for over an hour.
Yeah, we had a lot to talk.
I don't know how I thought we were cutting everything so short. I don't know how it got to be an hour, but we need to let these people go back to their lives.
Good idea. Thank you.
Thanks.